Hey there, it's Jennifer from the blog, The Everyday Farmhouse. Today we're going to be learning about making cold processed soap. Now this soap is great for a beginner soap maker, somebody who's maybe never even tried making soap before. And that was me about a year ago. And it's something that I had wanted to do for years and years, but always was very intimidated by it. I had a friend show me how to make soap, but when it came to doing it by myself, I got very nervous and I felt kind of overwhelmed, not knowing if it was really dangerous or anything like that. Had a lot of little ones running around, and so maybe it wasn't the best time in my life to try making soap. But now that I've been making soap for about a year, I realized that while there is some risk in working with lye, it's really not scary. And as long as you get your workspace ready ahead of time, if you're smart about your timing, and if you're not in a rush, then you should be just fine. Soap making is actually very easy to do as far as the hands-on time and the technique. It's nothing difficult, but you do need to know what you're doing and what you're working with, and you need to respect those things. So I like to do my soap making during nap time, and I'm also at a different stage in life than I was 10 years ago, where I have some older kids that can help me if a child were to wake up during nap time and I was right in the middle of something. They could take care of the child for me. So let's just say I am at a different stage in life. And if you're not there yet, then don't feel like you need to do this. You know, if it's something you want to do, maybe wait a few years if you feel intimidated by it. But if you're ready to give it a try, then I'm ready to show you all the steps to make this beginner soap. Now this recipe that I came up with, that's something that you can get into with soap making. It's a lot of fun to develop your own recipes, but there's a lot of recipes out there that you can try for beginner soap. This one, I wanted to use things that I had on hand. If you've gotten into making lotion bars or lip balm or anything like that, you probably have these three main ingredients on hand, and that is olive oil, coconut oil, and shea butter. So I wanted to use something that I had that I didn't have to try to source a different ingredient. And so I used that. The couple things you might need to purchase as far as ingredients go would be a fragrance oil, or if you have essential oils that you like on hand, you could use those. And the other thing would be lye, or sodium hydroxide is what it's called before it's actually mixed with the water. When you mix it with the water, it has a chemical reaction and that actually becomes lye. I buy this from Nurture Soap. I also buy my fragrance oils from Nurture Soap. They are a great company, fast shipping, just good quality product. So this is the only real risky part. And once you learn what you're doing with that, it's really not, it is a caustic ingredient, but it's not as dangerous as you might have in your head. So with a few safety things, wearing goggles or safety glasses is important. I buy these, my husband actually buys these nitrile gloves, and he uses them for working on cars and that sort of thing, and they are rated for protection against chemicals. And then a long sleeve shirt that's warm, you know, you only have to throw it on for the part where you're working with the lye. So I'm going to show you step by step what you need to do to make soap, and I hope I take the intimidation out of the whole process for you and that you give it a try. It's kind of an addicting hobby. It's a lot of fun. There's so many things to learn with it, just like anything else. But don't let that overwhelm you, because you can get started with very little information and just following a basic recipe like this one. So let's get started. You do need a few pieces of basic soap making equipment. You'll need a digital scale so that you can be accurate. I use old salsa jars for measuring my lye and water. You would need an immersion blender. That just makes mixing go so much easier and faster. A digital thermometer helps to make sure your temperatures are accurate. Some safety glasses or goggles, some good rubber gloves or nitrile gloves, a soap mold of some sort. You don't have to purchase a special soap mold, but it does make it nice. They make pretty fancy ones too. This is a 42-ounce mold here in the picture. A rubber spatula and a spoon for mixing, ones that you don't really care about that you can just use for soap making, and then a sharp knife or a soap cutter for cutting your bars. For this recipe, you'll need 12 ounces of shea butter, 12 ounces of coconut oil, 8 ounces olive oil, 10.2 ounces of water, 4.5 ounces sodium hydroxide, and then 2 ounces of fragrance oil. I thought it'd be good to show you how to tare a scale because I did not know how to do this until my son showed me. So you just put your container on it and you press the tare button, and then that zeroes it out so that whatever you pour in will then be measured rather than including the container that you're using. So here we are set up with our counter covered so that we don't drip lye and burn our counters. And I just use a little burner so I can have it all together. And then you just put your oils into your pot. So I've got my coconut oil, the shea butter, and the olive oil. And all of those go into the pot to melt together. You want that on like medium-low heat, nothing too high. Okay, once you have all your oils in your pot, you'll set everything aside, kind of try to keep your workspace clear. You'll want to wear your gloves now. Make sure you have on long sleeves, and it's a good idea to put on some goggles or safety glasses to protect your eyes, just in case something were to splatter. And as much as I'd like to think that wouldn't happen, it does happen. And I'm not the most careful or neat person, so I try to take the safety precautions. So what you want to remember is that you always pour the sodium hydroxide, these flakes, I buy the little pellets from Nurture Soap, that always goes into the water. There's people say to think of snow falling on a lake or something like that. So just try to remember that you should never pour the water into the lye. And so then you can just use your spatula, or a spoon is fine as well, to mix that up. Then once it's mixed up, you want to set it aside to cool. Okay, so now's the fun part. Once your lye and your oils are cooled to about 115, close to the same temperature. Here I'm pounding the immersion blender up and down to get the bubbles to come up. Then you pour your lye mixture into the oils, and you use and just do that slowly so you're not splattering. Keep the blender down inside the mixture, and you're just gonna work this around. Move your immersion blender on. I don't put it on high, I just put it on the first setting, and just mix it around until you get to what's called trace. So you can do a thin trace or a thicker trace. Once you add the fragrance oils, that kind of speeds up the trace, which means it thickens it faster. So if I feel like it's taking really long, I'll sometimes add the fragrance oil and it'll get thicker faster. If you were pouring it into pretty molds where you wanted the top really smooth, you would want to get to a thinner trace that would, when you would pour it, it would kind of level itself out. So I splattered a little bit. So this is getting close to trace here. I'm going to go ahead and add the fragrance oils. I mixed a couple because this is what I had on hand, and one of these was called Herbalicious, and I did not realize that it would change the color of the soap. I know it said it on the description and I just forgot. I purchased them a while ago, so I needed to use a couple mixed together to get to the 2 ounces that I needed. And so a lot of times you'll just stir that rather than using the mixing function so that you don't get your batter too thick. And once it's mixed well, you're just going to pour it into the mold. And there you can see what trace is. It's just leaving its mark on top, and so you know that this is ready to pour into the mold. Okay, so I've got this poured into the mold, and I'm going to tap it on the counter a bit just to get any air bubbles to rise out. And this was a pretty thick trace here, and that's fine. So this is what it ended up looking like when it came out. It's actually really pretty, but it was a surprise to me, and so kind of gave it a purple swirl. If I would have used the full 2 ounces, this would have been a much deeper purple, but it turned out pretty, and I like it, and we'll use it just fine. For this one, I did wrap it in a towel so that it would go through gel phase, and I just am finding I don't really believe that's necessary. The milk soaps that I make, I put straight in the freezer, and they saponify just fine, so I just don't think it's necessary to insulate it. I guess it would make your colors more vibrant, is what they say, so that's fine. It's your choice to do that, or you don't have to. Once you have your bars cut, just set them aside on a rack to cure for 4 to 6 weeks. And this actually got darker as it cured. So there you go. That's it. That's the whole process. Not a lot of hands-on time. About 45 minutes of waiting for your oils and your lye to cool down, and then the waiting of letting it cure for a few weeks. But other than that, it's a pretty quick and simple process, and I hope you could see that through this video. So while I was a little surprised with how this soap turned out, not realizing that the fragrance oil would change the color of the soap, I actually love it. I think it turned out really pretty, and it smells amazing. So that's the fun part, is that you get to choose how you want it to smell, you know, the ingredients that you use in soap, and I really hope this gets you started in soap making. I'm so thankful for the Handmade Home Challenge that has gotten me out of my comfort zone and helped me to learn a few new things well enough to teach somebody else. And so to me, it's been a blessing. I hope it's been a blessing to you, and just be watching for more soap making videos, as I'm going to show you how to make soap next with tallow and then also with lard, so that you can even bring the cost of soap making down more by using some ingredients that maybe you even can grow in your own place. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you come back again next time.